Welcome to another episode of It Takes a Viking, Season 5 of the official podcast of Salem State University Alumni Association and Foundation. My name is Mike Mitchell. Pleased to have joining us a graduate from the class of 2020, world-class baseball player, and proud member of the most recent 40 under 40 class. Please welcome to the show, Brock Riley. Brock, how are you?
I'm good, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Well, we are very excited to have you with us this afternoon and to share your story. We'll dive right into our questions. The first thing I always like to ask people is, what brought you to Salem State and how did you end up here?
Yeah, so for me, it was a little bit of a journey. I'll try my best to make the story more on the brief side, but for some people who know me, I definitely had a roller coaster of a career early on in college. Out of high school, I had a really good high school baseball career at Lowell High School in Massachusetts, and from there, I had a couple of Division I offers and Division II offers. I ended up choosing Franklin Pierce University because they were actually one of the best Division II baseball schools in the country. At the time, I chose Franklin Pierce and attended Pierce. They were actually getting more kids drafted by MLB teams than all the other Division I schools in New England. So it was a pretty easy choice for me and a lot of other guys at that period of time because we all knew that we wanted to eventually move on to pro ball and get our college degrees. So that really attracted me to Franklin Pierce over some of the other lower end Division I schools in New England. From Franklin Pierce, well, while I was at Franklin Pierce, we were actually the number one Division II team in the whole country. We performed really, really well. I think my freshman year we were like 48-2. Sophomore year we were like 46-4. Went to the World Series. And it was awesome. I learned a lot of lessons and had a lot of cool experiences during my time there. But as people who have played college sports know, you have a literal clock when you're in the NCAA. I mean, only have a couple of years to play all of your years of eligibility, and then you quite literally become ineligible. So during that time, I wasn't really playing a lot. I was in good shape. I was working hard. I was having fun with my teammates, but just wasn't really playing a lot. They had a lot of older guys that were fantastic baseball players and fantastic teammates that I learned a lot from. But ultimately, a lot of us younger guys were kind of just losing our eligibility sitting around, and that became pretty frustrating. So I eventually decided that I was going to transfer to a different school after 2 years at Franklin Pierce, and ended up going to the University of Maine, and that's a Division I program up in Orono. At the time when I made that transfer, the rule is different now, but at that time, you had to sit out a year if you transferred to a Division I school, which was pretty tough. I was willing to sit out the year, so I went and did that. Nowadays, people listening to this are probably like, "What the heck? That's a crazy rule." Because now you just see it's a transfer fest. Now you just see everyone transferring all the time, and you're allowed to do it. Free agency is basically legal now in college sports. But at the time I did this in 2016, I believe, you would have had to sit out. So I had to sit out. And while I was there, I think only like 3 or 4 months into my time at UMaine, the head coach, Steve Trimper, took off and went to Stetson to become the head coach. So that was pretty tough. That was, a couple of things that were just completely out of my control, had nothing to do with me. A new coaching staff took over, and it was actually fantastic guys. But, I just wasn't really one of their players. They didn't really have the same plans for me that, the other coach had in mind. So ultimately I decided that it was time to just find a school that would be a good fit for me for my final years of college. Where I'd be able to get on the field a lot and show what I can do, because up to that point I haven't really gotten to get on the field a lot, and that was frustrating. So I was like, what schools can I look at that are closer to home, maybe some state schools. And again, at the time of my transfer, you had to go down a division or else you had to sit out. You had to go down to D3 or else you had to sit out. So for me, it was a no-brainer choosing Salem State as a school I wanted to go to. I love the city of Salem. Went there every single year with friends and family to have fun. It's such a lively city with so much to do. And I actually knew a couple of guys on the baseball team there from summer ball. So they recruited me, and Coach Al Donovan recruited me. And it was one of the best choices I ever made. I had so much fun at Salem State. And yeah, that's how I ended up there.
During your time at Salem State, I know you had kind of the unique experience that you also began your involvement in the Cape League, right?
Yeah, that's another crazy one. So Yeah, while I was at Salem State, after it was my junior year on the field, and which was my first year at Salem State, and I did really, really well that year. I think I was like, 7-2 with like 4 saves, and was just crushing it as a starter and a reliever, and was throwing in the low to mid 90s, touching mid 90s at times, and just had a really strong kind of coming out party that first year at Salem State. It actually caught the attention of a lot of professional scouts locally, and I ended up getting recommended to play in the Cape Cod League, and actually had tryouts with multiple teams. And eventually, Chatham invited me down for a tryout because they needed some arms. So usually, guys from big Division I schools, they just get given a contract and they'll show up to the Cape League. Um, let's be honest, mostly based on where they went to school, and their school's reputation kind of gets them in there. A lot of Division II and III guys, for people who know the Cape League, not a lot of D2 and D3 guys get a chance to play in the Cape League. Those are, the couple hundred best college baseball players in the world who get invited there. And when I got invited down there, it was actually even harder because I had to have a tryout just by myself in front of the entire coaching staff with, radar guns. They were evaluating everything I was doing. And I actually had a really strong performance in my workout down there in Chatham, and did really well when I threw a bullpen. And I remember Coach Holiday was just like, "All right, I've seen enough. Pick up your jersey and see you at 7." So I earned a spot in Chatham. So that was pretty cool. So I think I was the only player from New England even on Chatham's roster, which is pretty cool because Chatham's kind of the team for people who know the Cape League. It's kind of like the New York Yankees of the Cape League. Everybody wants to play in Chatham. So yeah, that was pretty cool to get to end up there. I think I might have been the only Division III player in the country who was in the Cape at that time, also. So that was really cool.
That experience as a player on the Cape then led to some opportunities in your postgraduate career too, and we've talked before previously. And one of the next questions I always like to ask is what happens after college for you? What does life look like for your first couple of years? You're obviously still a pretty young guy, so you're still in kind of the throes of your first few years of life after college. But I know Chatham brought you back last summer. You were a pitching coach for the team last summer. Is that what it was?
Yeah. Last summer I was the pitching coach for Chatham, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, a couple of years after college, I was playing professionally. Um, After my senior year, I was ranked by Baseball America as the number 11 MLB draft prospect in Massachusetts, and a couple other prominent sites had me ranked pretty highly. The MLB draft is a really weird thing for people who know baseball. I mean, there was guys who were ranked like 20 spots below me going in the first like 10 rounds, and then I didn't even end up going in like the 40th. So the MLB draft is an absolute crapshoot. Guys who think they're getting drafted high don't even get drafted, and guys who have never even had one single conversation with an MLB team all of a sudden get drafted as a senior sign, where they'll give that person $500 to save the organization money in the ninth round. So it's kind of a weird chess game these teams play. So ultimately, when undrafted, played a few years of minor league ball, got to have some really awesome experiences. And then when I decided I wanted to get on the coaching side, luckily because of some of those cool experiences, I was able to jump into coaching at a pretty high level. So Coach Holiday, Tom Holiday, invited me to come to Chatham and be a pitching coach. And I said, absolutely, what better place to get started than the Cape Cod League?
And after your Cape League experience as a coach ended, that led to another opportunity that you had coaching for Team Great Britain, which you wouldn't think normally, like, oh, I'm going to make the jump from the Cape League to the international stage. But how did that even manifest, and what did that whole experience look like?
Yeah, that one's another funny story. So, yeah, when I was in March 2020, and I'm sure we all remember what happened in March 2020, but in March 2020, I was at spring training with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I was at a workout that I got invited to. Did pretty well at the workout. There's guys getting signed by the Diamondbacks there, and we're all just kind of like working out just to try to earn a spot. Couple of days later, COVID strikes again, March 2020. So, everyone's at home. Everything comes to a stop. Minor league seasons get canceled. Everything just gets delayed. And while I was down there, the scout who actually invited me down there was one of the scouts also for Team Great Britain, where he helps out with international scouting and helping them prepare for tournaments. And he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, your last name is Riley. You must be, British or Irish, right?" And I'm like, "Actually, yes, of course, 100%." So he's like, "Hey, if you can get your passport, I can get you a spot playing for Team Great Britain." Ultimately, long story short, didn't qualify to get my passport because it needs to be your grandparents or sooner, but stayed in touch and stuff. And after the World Baseball Classic, a bullpen coach position opened up with Team Great Britain, and I reached out to the manager Drew Spencer, and I said, "Hey, I'm interested in interviewing for this position. If you're interviewing people," and he said, "Yeah, absolutely, man. Like let's do it." So I interviewed for it. Went through a lengthy interview process with Connor Brooks, who's the head pitching coach with Great Britain. He's an amazing guy. Connor Brooks is so intelligent and knows so much about baseball. So we went through a lengthy interview, and ultimately they chose me, and I ended up being one of the pitching coaches for Team Great Britain at the European Championship in the Czech Republic last fall. So that was pretty cool. So it was kind of that series of events of, one thing a couple of years ago leading to some relationships, which led to catching on with Team Great Britain. And my time helping out in Chatham contributed to getting that job because Drew Spencer and also Connor Brooks. Again, Drew Spencer is the head manager for Great Britain, and Connor Brooks is the head pitching coach. Both of them were Cape League alumni as well. So that really, that really stuck with them that I was a player and a coach in the Cape Cod League, and things like that definitely can give people credibility in the baseball world. So we were able to kind of bond over that experience and razz each other for being on the different teams. Drew played for Orleans, I played for Chatham. That's kind of Red Sox, Yankees in the Cape League. So we kind of hit it off over that, and that's how I ended up with Team Great Britain.
And it reinforces the importance too. I mean, if there are students that are watching this, the importance of networking in whatever phase in your professional life that you're in can, maybe not in the short term, but in the long term, have an enormous impact on what you're able to do or pursue in your life. And I mean, I think you're leaving out one important thing too, that Team Great Britain had a pretty strong showing in that European Championship as well, right? I mean, you guys, what, silver medalists in the
Yeah,
tournament?
yeah, it was crazy. So I believe there was 20 or 24 teams that were there. So definitely a very competitive field with some good teams there. And yeah, we ended up winning the silver medal. We made it to the gold medal game. We just fell short against a really good Spain team. But while we were there, we played Team Italy, whose manager was actually Mike Piazza, Hall of Fame catcher. So that was pretty cool. Got to hang out with Mike Piazza a little bit while we were there. But yeah, there was some strong competition, and it was not easy to get to the gold medal game. So it was quite the accomplishment for Team Great Britain. And to build off what you were just saying, yeah, networking is so important, because some of the really wild adventures I've gotten to have were really just indirectly from making friendships with people and having genuinely no idea that it could even lead to conversations with certain people that would lead to these opportunities. So networking is really important. You never know what someone can do for you, even if you meet someone and you reconnect with them 4 years down the line. I mean, you just never know. So networking is really important.
And one of the things that I appreciate about you, Brock, is, and we're two guys that kind of know each other on social media as well, but when these player signings come out or draft announcements come out, like, you're always hyping up your guys on social, which is something that I really appreciate about you. Because yeah, when these guys when they're much younger and they're probably kind of early college years and things like that, and to know them, to have played with them, and then to watch them grow and know that you probably played a little bit of a part in them getting to the stage that they are in their lives and their careers. I mean, it's got to feel, as a young guy, like, you've had such an enormous impact on so many players already. Like, it's got to feel pretty good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm always one of the first guys to, congratulate and be happy for my players. Those guys are my brothers. I mean, you go through so much with those guys. It's funny because, like, you almost want to compare it to like a proud dad moment, but in reality, some of those guys are only a few years younger than me, which is really funny. So, you feel like you feel really proud, but in baseball, it's such a brotherhood. A lot of times the guys that you're coaching are really not that much younger than you are. So you become really good friends with them. You really do. You genuinely become friends with them. You spend every day at the ballpark with them. You go golfing with them in the mornings. You get lunch together. You travel together. You become really close with these guys. And when something good happens for them, and you know that you played a role in it, and you know that you helped them through a really important season or summer of their lives, it's really meaningful to know that you absolutely help them get to where they are, where they're going. So it's so cool seeing, some of those guys I've played with and coached become some of the most prominent names in the baseball world.
And I know that to a certain extent, there's got to be an understanding that for you, you probably remember this from your time on the road, is that minor league ball is a slog. It's not an easy life all the time. I mean, you're not eating at the Four Seasons every night when you're having meals, and it's late nights, long bus rides, gas station sushi kind of a thing. And so having that shared commonality with these guys has really just got to reinforce that you're in it together and the joy of doing it together, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, yeah. The grind in minor league baseball is very, very real. Yeah, I bet I could go on for an hour about it, but the grind in minor league baseball is real. Yeah, you don't really. I mean, this is just me being honest. I mean, this anyone can find this out with a simple Google search or just by knowing a person who plays in the minors. But the pay is not great. You're not getting benefits. Most of the guys who can play for a long time, it's really because they got a big signing bonus in the draft and they can afford to play. A lot of guys like myself stop playing 100% for financial reasons. It has nothing to do with your ability or your play or how your body feels. I probably throw even harder and play even better right now at 28 than I did at 24, and just had to stop playing to get a job and pay bills. But yeah, it's true. A lot of guys in the minors, you're just stopping at McDonald's at 3 a.m. when you're on the road traveling from Montana to Idaho or Salt Lake City or whatever. You're not stopping at a lot of nice places to eat. Sometimes they give you beer after games and not even water. They'll give you the cold hot dogs from the games. It can be a rough lifestyle, and when you don't have a lot of money in your pocket, yeah, kind of all you can afford is the gas station food. Like you said, don't do the gas station sushi. Don't do it. I,
No
that is
matter
my
how good it
favorite
looks.
food. I love sushi. It's my favorite food in the whole world. Shout out to Minzu Sushi in Salem, right near Salem State. I used to go there every single week. But yeah, don't do gas station sushi. The guys on the bus will not be thanking you after that. Um, but yeah, it can be a grind. It can absolutely be a grind. But when you go through it with those guys, you become a lot closer with them because of how difficult that lifestyle can be.
What you just said transitions really nicely into what I want to talk about next, and that at some point, you realize that at the place that you're in your life at that time, that maybe being a ball player is not on the table for you. One of the things that I do admire about you is that you're still playing, um, but you mentioned that you had to kind of make that decision to say, okay, there's some other things in life I need to consider now. Um, what did your it's a two-part question, I guess. So what were your kind of next steps after you decided to call it as a player and a coach for now?
Mhm.
What did you decide to do after that? And then if you're a current Salem State ball player or a young and upcoming ball player, what are some pieces of advice that you would give them in terms of how to prepare yourself to give yourself the best opportunity to succeed as an athlete?
Yeah, it's a good question because I like how you said for now because I don't think I'll ever stop playing ever. I'm definitely going to be that 60-year-old that's probably still playing baseball and still training and working out and I definitely wanna always play and coach. But for me, there wasn't really any one like moment. There really wasn't. For some guys, there is a moment. For some guys, they at spring training they get a pink slip in their locker and they get released and boom, that's the end of it, and they know that they're just done trying. For me, there wasn't just like one moment. For me, it was more of just like slowly but surely feeling the financial strain. That's just for my specific situation. You could ask a lot of ball players, and they'll all have different reasons. Some guys maybe they got injured, different stuff. But for me, it was more. It really was just the financial part for me. I didn't get a signing bonus out of the draft and I was expecting to. So it was a bummer when that didn't happen for me, and definitely put financial strain on me to be able to afford the proper nutrition, the proper training. That stuff costs a lot of money. Costs a lot of money, and it's tough when you can't really train properly or eat properly when you're on the road. It's tough when you got your student loans coming in and other bills, and you got to help out your family, and so those are very real problems for all of us. And for me, you see it with Olympians, you see it with people in all sports. So for me, it was kind of just a slow but sure strain where I was kind of just like, all right, I gotta maybe make some moves here to get some money in the bank. I ended up going into teaching for a little while. So I was a public school teacher in Tingsboro. I enjoyed that. I mean, it was tough being a teacher during COVID, but it kept me involved in sports, kept me involved coaching baseball. So yeah, I was doing that for a little while and ended up transitioning out of teaching. And I ended up getting other jobs. Well, like I said, like we already talked about, I ended up going back to the Cape Cod League to coach, and then with Team Great Britain. And then as my day job, I got really interested in finance. So I went and got all my finance licenses, and now I am a stockbroker at Fidelity Investments. So that's been something that's pretty cool. It pays the bills. It's an interesting job, and I enjoy it. But yeah, to answer the question, there wasn't really just like one moment. It was kind of just like a gradual thing of just like, all right, I need to do something different to stay afloat, and I can always go back to baseball full time later on if I want to. So I actually feel really good knowing that that door is still open. I can always go back to playing if I really, really wanted to. I'm only 28 years old. I can always go back to coaching. So it's cool that those doors are still open, but sometimes you got to take a detour to keep things going on the home front as well. And my advice to the next part of the question, my advice to guys that are current ball players at Salem State, it's that it's a super cliche thing, but hard work really does pay off. Um, Coach Al Donovan, who I had, if you talk to him, he'd tell you that when I was at Salem State, I was definitely a psychopath with my work ethic, and I mean that in the best way. I was crazy in the gym. I was always working out. I was always on my workout routine. I was always playing long toss, foul pole to foul pole. I was getting my bullpens in, always doing what I had to do, always doing the extra work, always trying to get the edge. That was just me. I was just a really, really hard worker. And I know that's something a lot of people throw around pretty lightly, but it's the truth. I mean, if you want to be good, you have to work hard at what you want to do. It shouldn't be a surprise to people that lifting weights and working out gets you stronger, and throwing a lot and stuff makes you throw harder and better with more stamina. So for me, I really took that to heart and just really became an animal in the weight room and in my work ethic and routine. And I wasn't always like that earlier in college. I wasn't always the hardest worker. And, I had wake up calls when I realized that I wasn't where I wanted to be. So it really pushed me to work hard. So yeah, the current ball players definitely, learn more about your workout routine, invest in yourself. I mean, literally earn money from a side job and invest in weights that you can use at home. Invest in a net that you can throw with in your backyard. Even if you have to play long toss with yourself, just throwing the ball into the net after warming up properly and stuff. That's what I did. Um, Learn more about nutrition. For me, I started eating, mostly, whole food, plant-based diet. That's something a lot of people throw around now too, but it did work for me. And I know guys who eat, a lot of meat and different things, and that works for them, and that can be fine too. Just find the diet that works for you. Experiment with different things. For me, changing my diet and eating really cleanly, instantly gave my body less inflammation, made me have more energy. I recovered faster. I became stronger. Um, so you really got to do those things. You got to do the work. You got to do the research on how to work harder, work smarter, and take care of your body, because your body is what you use in the sport. So definitely invest in yourself in those ways, and work really hard at it.
So you've been out of the collegiate game for a few years now, not long, just a few years.
Mm-hmm.
So this question should hopefully um, still be pretty easy to answer for you. But you mentioned about the impact that Coach Donovan had on you and your time in the weight room and things like that. But as an athlete, specifically a baseball player, do you have kind of maybe a hallmark memory or experience or two that you think back on most fondly from your time at Salem?
Yeah, I would definitely say two of them come right to mind. One that I was telling you about before, where I think it was my senior year. It was a playoff game at Worcester, and I was pitching in the game, doing really well on the mound. And we were going through different subs, and we had to, I forget what the full exact story was, but we had to sub a few guys, move a few guys around on the field, and ultimately we ended up running out of players. And it was a funny situation where it wasn't like an accident or anything. I mean, Coach Donovan was making the correct moves, but it just got to a point where we were like, hey, we need to make this one move right now, and that's going to mean that you have to hit Brock. And I was like, oh, awesome. I'll take an at bat. I was super pumped about it, but everyone was laughing. And, they're like, wait, are you serious? A pitcher's going to get an at bat? And I was like, oh, no, I got this, guys. Like, I can do this. And there was a lot on the line. It was tied in a playoff game. And I was pitching really well. Coach didn't want to take me off the mound. So he's like, you have to hit, dude. You gotta go up there and figure something out.
Which I think it's important really quick to establish a foundation that for those that may not be a fan of baseball, pitchers don't typically hit.
That's right. Yeah, it's a super unusual thing for pitchers to hit. So it was
only in the National League.
Yeah, except in the National League back in the day, right? So yeah, for anyone who doesn't follow baseball, it was like a pretty comical moment. People were like, okay, obviously you're just gonna like strike out and look ridiculous or something and blow the game. But it was a serious situation. I had to hit, or else we had nobody else. So I actually got up there, and I get up there like, oh, I'm gonna hit a home run. I'm just gonna swing. I'm gonna swing as hard as I can and prove everyone wrong. I took the hardest swing I've ever taken. And it was one of those funny moments like out of a cartoon. The ball just like barely tips off the edge of the bat and maybe goes like 10 feet in front of home plate. Even after I had a big leg kick and swung as hard as I could, ball just dribbles 10 feet in front of home plate. I think a 5-year-old would have hit the ball further. And the thing that was so great about it was the ball went off the bat so slowly that by the time anyone could run into the infield to pick it up, I was already at first base. So I actually got a hit. I got a hit in my only college at bat. I got on base, and that was awesome. And then my awesome teammates ended up getting a couple of singles in a row and actually hit me in. And I think I'd send you the picture of me scoring that go-ahead run because, my teammates did a great job right after me because it takes a team. It wasn't just me at all. Those guys got their hits that they needed to get for the team right after my at-bat. And they brought me around. I scored the go-ahead run, and then I went back out there to pitch and shut the door. We ended up winning that game, and it was one of my favorite moments. We almost like dogpiled out at the mound. So that was really cool. And I would say for a second moment would probably be my Cape Cod League debut in Chatham would be the night where I, finally got to go out there and throw 2 shutout innings in the Cape Cod League and, prove a lot of people wrong by, representing D3 kids and going out there. And I struck out a couple of first-round picks. I think I picked off 2 guys at first base in 1 inning. So that was a pretty special moment too, to follow the Cape Cod League since I was a little kid, and then go out there as a player for the most famous summer baseball team and league in the country, and really do exceptionally well in those 2 innings. So I felt really awesome after both of those memories.
That's 2 pretty good things to hang your hat on, I would say.
Yeah, some good memories for sure.
Brock, as you think about, you've been out of college for a few years now, and you're 4 years in college, and obviously the non-traditional journey you kind of took, and then you found your home here. You were named to the 40 under 40 class, and so your connection to Salem State obviously runs quite deep. What does being a member of this community mean to you?
It means a lot to me. Anyone who knows me or even follows me on social media and stuff knows that I'm really proud to be a Salem State Viking. My time at Salem State is and was very meaningful to me. I loved it so much when it was happening. I still love it so much right now when I look back on it. Even the off-field stuff was great. The professors were awesome. I had such funny, hilarious professors that always made learning such a joy. Anyone who knows me in my personal life knows I was not always the best student. And then once I got to Salem State, I became a good student because I liked it. I genuinely liked my classes. I liked showing up to campus. It was a beautiful campus and, nice classrooms. I loved the old but still nice buildings. Like, it was just, you just felt very, very comfortable in there. I just felt so comfortable in larger classes and having more friends in those classes, meeting people that had different backgrounds than me. And the professors cared so much about all the students and checked in with us often, made sure that we were doing well. And, they made learning fun. And as a history major, I got to take a lot of cool classes about topics I was so interested in. Shout out to the whole history department. Brad Austin, everybody over there. I absolutely loved my time. My grades shot up for the first time in my life because I enjoyed schoolwork and, enjoying my classes and getting to meet people, not even involved in baseball and getting to make friends with those people, as well as make friends with my teammates and my coaches, and even having fun off the field with everybody. There's so much cool stuff to do in Salem. I was having fun going to, fun restaurants, and, going to the Witch Museum in the fall and showing my friends around, and going to do all the different fun things in Salem. I mean, we just had such a blast, and the proximity to Boston, and we just had so much fun during my time there. I just absolutely loved it. I look back on it really fondly. And so, yeah, being the Vikings really, really important to me, inside the classroom and on the athletic fields. It meant so much to me and was some of the best years of my entire life. And I think it's a great place for anyone to choose to go to school, whether it's just academically, and or for sports as well.
Brock, if people want to follow your journey, I know you've said obviously that you don't think you're based on what you told me in your performance in the Metro League, you're still throwing the ball pretty hard. So I don't think this is the end of your playing days either.
Yeah.
If folks want to follow your journey, I know you're pretty active on the gram. How can they find you on Instagram?
Yeah, it's at Brock_Riley. Riley spelled Riley, or that's right. It's on the screen there. But yeah, just at Brock_Riley. Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Instagram. I have Facebook. Anyone who's an alumni watching this, please feel free to add me or reach out. Even if you just have simple questions, whether it's about baseball or Salem State, definitely feel free to reach out to me. Networking is important. I've had so many people I've reached out to who are Salem State alumni who were very generous with their time talking to me, whether it's a phone call or just messaging. So yeah, if anyone who's an alumni is watching this and wants to reach out, definitely feel free to. I'd be happy to hear from you.
Brock, season 5, episode 2. Always good to talk with you, my man. Thank you so much for your time. And this has been another episode of It Takes a Viking, the official podcast of the Salem State University alumni and friends community. Until next time, I'm Mike Mitchell. Thanks for watching.